Hello everyone, how is your mood today? If it is okay, let's make a start with our today's session. Today we talk about the non-finite forms of the verb. As you know, the verb has two forms, the finite forms and the non-finite forms. The latter being is also called verbals. Verbals, unlike the finite forms of the verb, do not express person, number or mood. Therefore, they cannot be used as a predicate of a sentence. However, like the finite forms of the verb, verbals have tense, voice and aspect distinctions, but their tense distinctions differ greatly from those of the finite verbs. Then, we will discuss these. So, in English we have three verbals. The first one is the participle, the gerund and the infinitive. In most modern grammar textbooks, there is no difference is made between the gerund and the participle, but that is not actually true. There exist clear-cut differences between the gerund and the participle. The main difference is that the gerund has more nominal character. It's according to the nominal character of the gerund, it is used as a subject of a sentence. For example, swimming is pleasant. What is pleasant? Swimming. Swimming is a subject of the sentence, and the gerund in this sentence comes as a subject. So that is the nominal character of the gerund, while the participle has adverbial and adjectival character. According to the adverbial character of the participle, it comes in the sentence as an adverbial modifier of clause, adverbial modifier of time, and adverbial modifier of manner. Let's see this in examples. The first one is modifier adverbial of clause. Being ill, he had to miss the class. So being ill, this is a participle. We can replace this with clause of reason. So he was ill, that's why he had to miss a class. And the second one is adverbial modifier of time. According to the adverbial character of the participle comes as an adverbial modifier of time. For example, having finished the tasks, he went to bed. Having finished, that is a participle, and we can replace it with a time clause. For example, after he had finished his tasks, he went to bed. And the next is the next adverbial character of the participle is that participle comes as an adverbial modifier of manner. So let's see this in example. So he was walking down the street singing aloud. So singing aloud, this is the adverbial modifier of manner, and this is the participle phrase. And how he was walking down the street, this is singing aloud. This is a participle and it is function in the sentence, in this sentence, adverbial modifier of manner. So dear students, I hope you have comprehended the clear-cut differences between the gerund and the participle. And however, in our next sessions, we will dig deeper into each verbals. Now I will tell the characteristic traits of the verbals. The verbals have a double nature, a nominal nature and a verbal nature. So the participle can combine the characteristics of a verb with those of an adjective, while the gerund and infinitive combine the characteristics of a verb with those of a noun. So the second verbal character of the non-finite forms is that all verbals have voice and tense distinctions, but their tense distinctions are not absolute like those of the finite verbs. Now we will talk about one of the verbals, which is the infinitive inside out. As you know, the infinitive, like the participle and the gerund, has a double nature, nominal and verbal. According to the nominal character of the infinitive, so it can be used as a subject of a sentence, as a predicative of a sentence, and as an object of a sentence. Let's see this nominal character of the infinitive in examples. First, to swim is pleasant. What is pleasant? To swim. To swim is infinitive phrase in this sentence, and it comes in this sentence as a subject. The second one is as a predicative. Her ambition was to study abroad. So her ambition was to study abroad. This is the infinitive phrase, and it comes in this sentence as a predicate. What is his ambition? To study abroad. The next is a nominal character of the infinitive. So it can be used in the sentence as an object. So he has never learned to read or write. Yes. So this is a nominal character of the infinitive. Now we will explore the verbal character of the infinitive. According to the verbal character of the infinitive can the transitive form of the infinitive can take direct object like a verb. He feels to begin some curiosity. Begin. To begin, this is the infinitive, some curiosity, that is a direct object. As you know, the verb usually requires the direct object after it. After the verbs usually require a direct object after them. The next verbal character of the infinitive is that the infinitive has voice and tense distinctions, but the tense distinctions of the infinitive is not absolute but relative. That means the action expressed by the infinitive is usually simultaneous with the action expressed by the finite verb. Therefore, it refers to the present, past, or future. And now we will learn the tenses of the infinitive. As you know, the infinitive has 4 tenses in active voice and 2 tenses in passive voice. Let's see the active in active voice all tenses of the infinitive. The first one is indefinite infinitive, and the second is continuous infinitive. The third one is perfect infinitive, and the final one is perfect infinitive. And however, infinitive has 2 forms in passive voice. The first one is indefinite infinitive, and the second one is perfect infinitive. As you know, continuous infinitive and the perfect continuous infinitive has no forms. So, okay, dear students, to make it more clear, let's take one verb to express it in all form tenses of the infinitive. For example, to write. Yes, to write. Okay, let's express this verb in all tenses of the infinitive in both active and passive voices. Indefinite infinitive, to write in active voice, to be written in passive voice. The second tense is continuous infinitive, and continuous infinitive to be writing. And as I mentioned above, continuous infinitive has no form. The third one is perfect infinitive, in active voice to have written, in passive voice to have been written. And the last form is that the perfect continuous, to have been writing in passive voice. It has no form. Okay, dear students, I highly recommend every student, every learner to learn all the tense forms of the infinitive better, as you know, to make the sentence in a correct way. So everyone must know all the tenses of the infinitive in both active and passive voices. Okay, dear students, and I think that you must also know that the verb tenses corresponding to the forms of the infinitive. So we will now explore these below. The verb tenses corresponding to the forms of the infinitive are as follows. So the first one is present simple and future simple. Correspond to the present form of the infinitive. For example, he writes, he will write. So if we make this in infinitive phrases, he seems to write, he seems to write. Yes, and we must know that the present tense and future tense correspond to the form of the to the present infinitive. And the second one is continuous form, that is present continuous, future continuous. So these tenses correspond to the continuous form of the infinitive. Let's see this in example. So she is writing a letter, or she will be writing a letter. So in infinitive phrase, she seems to writing a letter, or she seems to writing a letter. Okay, if you understand this, let's move to the next tenses. So next tenses are past simple, present perfect, past perfect, future perfect. All these tenses correspond to the perfect tenses of the infinitive. Let's see this in examples as well. So he has finished his work. He seems to have finished his work. So dear students, the perfect infinitive is also called past form of the infinitive, because the action expressed by the infinitive is usually happening before the action expressed by the finite verb. That's why this form of the infinitive is also called past form of the infinitive. Next verb tenses, the past continuous tense, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. These verb tenses correspond to the perfect continuous infinitive. So let's see this in examples. For example, for 10 days we have been living on nothing but cold meat, bread and jam. So if we change it into infinitive phrase, it would be like that. So we seem to have been living on nothing but cold meat, bread and jam. So that is verb tenses corresponding to the tenses of the infinitive. Dear students, I recommend you to memorize both both verb tenses and infinitive tenses. So now we will talk about the use of infinitive. So infinitive falls into two according to the use of the particle to with the infinitive or without infinitive. The first one is full infinitive. It means that the infinitive with the particle to. The second one is bare infinitive. Bare infinitive is the infinitive without the particle to. Now we will see the use of full infinitive. After some verbs, either a gerund or infinitive comes, but now we will see some verbs after which the infinitive comes. They are, let's count them. Appear, arrange, agree, admit, ask, and beg, care, claim, consent, mean, manage, need, offer, plan, propose, prepare, promise, next regret, remember, refuse, and next that is decide, demand, deserve, desire, learn, intend, expect, hope, hesitate, fail, forget, sing, strive, struggle, swear, try, threaten, and volunteer, wish, want. After these verbs, usually full infinitive comes. Let's make examples. The first one is, I can't afford to buy such chic designer clothes. The second is, they agreed to help us. They agreed to help us. So, and infinitive is also used after the adjectives. Adjectives which express emotions and feelings such as glad and happy, and after the adjectives express the character of a person, clever or mean, and the adjectives which express willingness or unwillingness such as willing, unwilling, anxious, eager, reluctant, or unreluctant. After these adjectives, the infinitive is also used. After these adjectives, usually infinitive comes. For example, you are clever not to believe them. Infinitive is also used after some adjectives which refer to the character of a person in impersonal constructions. For example, it is clever of you not to believe them. The infinitive is also used after the word only to talk about an unexpected event which is mostly unpleasant. So he came home only to find her sister waiting for him. And infinitive, the next use of the infinitive is that. So infinitive comes after the verb enough and to. So now we will learn the use of to and enough in the sentences. So let's make a start with the word to. To, as you know, has always negative meaning. It shows that something is more needed, something is more than necessary, or something is more than wanted. And so the to word is used in three particles. The first one is, so to plus adjective adverb and plus infinitive. So it is hot, it is too hot to drink the coffee, or it is too hot to drink. Infinitive is also used after the words enough and to. As you know, to has negative meaning. It shows that something is more than needed, something is more than necessary or something is more than wanted. So it is used in the following patterns. The first one is to plus adjective, adverb, and plus infinitive. For example, it is too cold to go swimming. The next pattern is that to plus for something or somebody. The coffee is too sweet for me. In the next pattern, to plus for somebody something plus to do something. The weather is too cold to go swimming. The next is enough. So as you know, enough has positive meaning. It shows that something is as much as enough or as much as is wanted or necessary. So it is used in the following patterns. Enough adjective plus enough plus infinitive. So she is old enough to go out on her own. The second one is enough plus enough plus noun plus infinitive. We have enough money to buy a meal for today. So dear students, and there are certain verbs after which both either gerund or infinitive comes, but without a change in their meaning. They are begin, start, continue, cease, intend, bother. So after these verbs, we can either use the gerund or the infinitive, but without a change in their meaning. So for example, it started to rain. It started raining. However, if the two ing it is not, so sometimes we cannot have the two ing form together. In that case, we must use infinitive instead of gerund. For example, it is getting to rain is correct, but we cannot say that it is getting raining. That is incorrect because we haven't used the two infinitive ing form in one sentence. So, and also there are certain verbs after which either gerund or infinitive comes according to the if the object is allowed by them, whether object follows or not. So they are advise, allow, recommend, permit, encourage. If these verbs are followed by an object after which the infinitive comes. He advised me to park here. Me is the object in this sentence. That's why we use infinitive after object. If these verbs are not followed by an object, we have to use the gerund. For example, they advised parking here. But we must remember that any verb used in the passive voice must take only infinitive, not the gerund. For example, he was allowed to park here. Dear students, there are also three verbs. They are after which either gerund or infinitive comes, but there is a certain rule. Now we will learn this. They are need, require, and want. If these verbs are followed by inanimated subject, after which the gerund the gerund is used, but they can be interpreted, these sentences can be interpreted into Uzbek language as a passive voice. In Uzbek language, that action, it shows that the action is done by somebody. So if these verbs are followed by animated subject, after which usually infinitive comes. For example, I need to clean the house. That is animated subject, therefore after need the infinitive comes. The room needs cleaning. Yes, the room is inanimated subject, that's why after which the gerund is coming. So here, if these verbs are used in passive voice, of course the infinitive, they are followed by the infinitive. The room needs to be cleaned. I mean the passive form of the infinitive. So need and need has some peculiarity from other verbs. Let's explore the peculiarities of this verb. As you know, need can be used as a modal verb and a normal verb. As a modal verb, the verb need can be used only in interrogative and negative questions. For example, need I go there? Or I needn't go there. So if the need used as a modal verb, it doesn't followed by the particle to. As a normal verb, the need requires a noun or pronoun after which, therefore its interrogative and question form is usually formed by the auxiliary word did, do, does, and so on. Let's give this an example. She needs some money. If we change it into interrogative or negative form, does she need some money or she doesn't need some money? So we cannot say she needn't money because need in this sentence are used as a normal verb because it is followed by the noun in the sentence. So, okay, dear students, this is the end of our today's session. If you find this information useful, I would be very glad. See you in our next sessions. Goodbye.